am going to introduce Leah. Leah was raised in Dallas, Texas, and she has been passionate about advocating for HD community since she tested positive in 2014. Through her testing journey, she discovered that her mother has HD and her sister and nephew are also at risk, but she was able to prepare for family life that she thought would only exist in her dreams. Leah decided early on to channel the fear and strength she developed through writing and create a blog called The Capturing the Corners that has been featured on HDSA, HDO, The Mighty, and Help for HD. With this amazing sense of community, she has found hope that inspires her to keep fighting for awareness and a cure. So Leah, we are so excited to hear from you and hear your story.
Yes, I am so excited to be here. Basically, I initially got tested at the ripe age of 22 because my dream was always to have a family, a husband, kids. I felt like that was my purpose in life at the time. I did test positive for HD, which was really difficult. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm never going to be able to get married. I'm never going to be able to have a family. And Lauren was talking about earlier, I felt like I lost my worth as a woman. But so I mourned that for a couple of years and wasn't really expecting to ever get married or have children, anything like that. But I met my now husband. We started dating. It was unexpected. After a couple of years of being together, I badly wanted a child, a baby. We talked about it and decided that we were gonna do IVF, which is where a doctor will take your eggs and basically pick the ones that don't have the HD gene and then fertilize you with that. So that was the route we were going to take. And I surprisingly got pregnant before we could even do any of that. So I was excited and shocked and so afraid at the same time because I was like, oh my gosh, if my child has HD, like I just don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't live with myself, just going crazy in my mind. So we decided to do a testing process called amniocentesis, which is basically where a doctor takes a needle that's like this big, it's huge. I was 6 weeks pregnant, and they take some of the fluid from your stomach and they test your baby that way to see if it has the HD gene. And the waiting process on that was excruciating. Oh, it was worse than when I was waiting for my own test results because I felt like I would feel so guilty if my baby ended up having HD. But if it did, my husband and I decided we were going to keep it either way because there's still value in the life of someone who has HD. I have it, and I have had an amazing life, amazing experiences. I'm glad that I exist, and I'm glad that I wasn't terminated because of HD, if that had been an option. So we were going to keep the baby either way, but luckily our precious baby boy came back and tested negative. And we were both so elated. Oh, it was just the best feeling in the entire world. And we had him and we're so happy and everything was perfect. And then I ended up getting pregnant again by surprise, which I should have learned the first time that birth control does work, but I was tracking my ovulation. So that's why I got pregnant the second time. That was unexpected because I was planning my wedding and wasn't expecting to be pregnant at my wedding. But then we did the whole process all over again. We did the amniocentesis, and then the waiting was just horrific and terrifying, but luckily he came back negative as well. So that was just the biggest blessing. So we had him, but after that, I decided to get my tubes tied because the process of waiting during that testing period was just so excruciating. I was like, if we're gonna have a third baby, then we have to go through IVF because I can't stand the testing process and the waiting. But even if your baby does, or if you decide to have a family without the testing, like Lauren was talking about earlier, or if your child does test positive for HD or JHD, there's still so much value in that life. And it's totally worth having, totally worth living. I've met some amazing people at like HD conferences and whatnot that have JHD or that have tested positive, and they're just doing so much for the HD community. They do so good in other aspects of their lives, and they really are, as little as it may seem, they're changing the world and changing the HD community and providing support. And it's definitely something that is worth the life. And I don't want anyone to feel guilty if the outcome is in favor of HD. Every life is beautiful, and in the end, it's a decision that you need to make based on what you feel is best for yourself, for your journey, and for your family, without the guilt and without feeling like it's something that you have to test for. So that's been our journey. It's been a crazy and hectic one, but we are just feeling so blessed and happy with the outcome that we did receive.
I have a question for you, Leah, regarding that waiting period with that amniocentesis. How long did that take? Because I can imagine, like you said, the wait was harder than waiting for your own test results, because that's, I think mamas put that burden on themselves. Like, it's not about us anymore. It is, because we need to be healthy, but everything turns to our baby. So how long did you have to wait?
So the waiting period was about a month, which was the same as when I got tested. The waiting period was about a month, but it was the longest month of my life. It consumed my thoughts. It's all I thought about. I would dream about it. I would have nightmares about it. It was insane. But yeah, it took about a month for the test results to come back.
Now, was that process painful, the amniocentesis, when you're talking about a needle like that?
Yeah, like I said, the needle is huge, and I am terrified of needles. So that certainly didn't help. It was painful. It was less painful than I expected, but it definitely hurt. It felt just like really bad cramping, or if you have ever had an IUD inserted, that's what it feels like, just really bad cramping. But the process is quick if you have a good doctor. My doctor actually had to do mine a couple of times because my baby August kept moving around. But yeah, it's definitely not pleasant. We'll put it that way.
Not pleasant, but worth it, I'm sure, of course.
Oh, I'm muted. His voice is going. If I could ask a quick question, Leah, this is outside of family planning, if this is okay with you. So Leah has an amazing blog, and she started it when she was very young. How long has that blog been in existence?
So it's actually on hiatus right now, but I started it when I was 22, when I tested positive.
Yeah. And so with that, can you please tell us, I was just wanting to say, like, the blog is it's amazing. And Leah really was very raw and open about a very hard time in her life and just getting diagnosed and things that she went through. And then her pulling herself out and having this amazing family and this amazing life. And if someone was just diagnosed with Huntington's disease, what advice would you give them?
So I'll really quickly go into what I went through, just so I'm sure people can relate. When I tested positive, I totally shut down. I didn't know that there were like support groups. I didn't know about Help for HD. I didn't know that there were a lot of other people suffering with the same issue. So I felt completely alone. I self-isolated. I didn't talk to anybody. I was so depressed. So I would definitely advise you to do the opposite. However, if you need to give yourself a mourning period, then don't feel guilty about doing that. If you need to take some time for yourself, but just make sure that it's in a healthy way. I wouldn't completely self-isolate. Make sure that you're reaching out to people if you need help. and getting advice where you need to, meditating, finding healthy ways to cope. But yeah, definitely don't, and I'm only repeating this because this is something that was hard for me, but don't feel bad about needing to mourn, because I feel like that's a healthy part and that's needed for healing. But yeah, reach out to your community. You're not alone. Make sure that you surround yourself with people who are supportive and loving and there for you.